another interesting archaeological find that has been found underwater. Canadian scuba diver in Mexico accidentally discovers vast prehistoric industrial complex. It's about as if we passed through a portal, they said. This is by National Post on W&D. It was a simple stroke of serendipity that led to the discovery in Mexico of the earliest underground ochre mine in the world, which a new journal article described as vast prehistoric industrial complex as much as 12,000 years old, where Paleo-Indians prospected for the valuable red iron-rich mineral that is a major factor in human evolution. It began in 2017 when a Canadian scuba diving instructor went through a tight passage to become the first person ever to enter an unknown chamber in a cave complex in Quintana Roo on the eastern Yucatan Peninsula on Mexico's Caribbean coast. Fred DeVos had been teaching an underwater cave survey class, stringing new guidelines and estimating the volume of cave passages by measuring out from the line to the wall, when a student taking a measurement noticed a tunnel with no exploration line leading into it. Soon after, DeVos and diver Sam Meacham swam their way into the blackness, and their exploration took them first up into an air dome and back down into the water, then through a tight restriction through which DeVos was likely the first person to pass in modern times. It's almost as if we passed through a portal, Meacham said. He's a Texan diver who with DeVos runs an organization in Mexico to study and conserve the local underground water systems. Water is their primary interest, but they came across all kinds of things submerged here since the once dry cave flooded back about 8,000 years ago. Meacham said in an interview, there's all sorts of stuff in these caves. Over the years, they have noticed weird things out of place, like rocks piled on top of each other, things that did not look natural but had no obvious explanation other than people. Other caves nearby have yielded human remains as well, but they seem more the exception than the rule. People who had somehow died on sites such as Naia, the previously reported 13,000-year-old skeleton of a teenage girl. Meacham said, we know people were in there, but it was not until they found this new chamber and many more beyond that they saw the full scale of this prehistoric underground human enterprise. Let's remember that at that time, 8,000, 13,000 years ago, we had an ice age, and of course the water levels were a lot lower, which means that the land masses were more extended, their coasts were more extended. So obviously this area was not underground at that time. He said, we started seeing widespread destruction in what would have been a pristine cave. It must be ingrained in human nature to pile rocks on top of each other. There was no other way it could have gotten there other than a human stacking it on top. In places, the floor of the cave had been bashed open to reveal the ochre layer beneath, and the hole extended by smashing rocks with breaking piled up at the sides. There were pit, stone tools, piles of debris, cairns to mark direction, hearths for charcoal, soot-blackened spots on the ceiling as well. It was an ochre mine, or used to be, back when this cave was dry and filled with the stench of wood fires for light, the closeness of humanity pushing itself into the farther subterranean reaches of the earth. This is detailed in new research in the journal Science Advances by Brandy MacDonald of the University of Missouri with Edward Reinhardt of McMasters University of Canada. The research presents uniquely preserved evidence indicating that people were exploring underground cave systems to prosper and mine red ochre, an iron oxide earth mineral pigment widely used by North American earliest inhabitants. The scale of the thing is what makes it astonishing, spread over 3 cave systems, a few kilometers from the present-day Caribbean coastline. This ochre mine was, as the author described, the regional scale activity that was sustained over multiple generations. And this cave is thought to have been dry from the last glacial maximum more than 20,000 years ago to when it flooded about perhaps 8,000 years ago. Humans were already well established, as we know, in North America. They had perhaps 14,000 years ago from the north they came, and in 2018 the discovery of 2 infant ceremonial buried ceremonially buried in Alaska 11,500 years ago, was held up as further evidence for the theory that humans, after becoming anatomically modern in Africa, spreading across Asia, slowly, fitfully migrated from Siberia via Alaska into all of America, some via Pacific coastline waters, others through inland routes depending on glacial activity. Well, we also know that they also came from, let's say, Scandinavia. They hopped, skipped, and jumped, as we saw in earlier videos just a few days ago. From Scandinavia, they went to Scotland, from there to the Faroe Islands. That's about 260 kilometers away. Then from there to Iceland, another 260 kilometers, not kilometers, miles away. From there to Greenland, another 260 kilometers away. Then hugging the Greenland coast, went to around Newfoundland, and came into the area of the east coast of North America. So this is a fantastic find yet again. And who knows if they do have marine scuba diving. The marine archaeology is very important. I'm sure they'll find a lot of things like this in the future. This is on the National Post and WND. If you'd like to join me on my Patreon account, you will hear content not covered by mainstream media. These riveting stories will be based on my research, and I will state my opinions and give my personal insight on diverse and controversial subjects and world events not covered by mainstream media, and not supported by YouTube guidelines. So whatever I have on my Patreon, most of those will not be on my YouTube channel. Please consider becoming a member today. More of the most significant and important videos will be on my Patreon channel. Your support helps me to continue my research and keeps this YouTube channel alive. And we depend on your support, your generous charity, because we help economically challenged families here in Athens, Greece, in Kapota, and we also help the young generation with university tuition and the community around our church. Thank you.